President, please be seated. The court is now back in session. And again, I'd like to hand the floor to the National Council for ONUG to continue putting questions to the witness if you have more questions. Council, thank you, Mr. President. And again, good afternoon, ông nhé. Before the break, we spoke about the appointment of a village chief of a spur. Based on your recollection, who actually appointed the village chief of a spur? Answer, I did not know about that. Question, this morning at 10:08, you stated that the people who were religious followers were considered enemies. Although they might not be a Cham people, can you explain to the court the difference between the religious followers and the Cham people? Answer. Of course, there is a connection between the Cham people and religious followers. If only the Cham people who practice Islamic religion were killed, that was a separate matter. However, those who practice Buddhism were also killed. And so the same thing applies to the Cham people. And that is within the context of a religion. Question. Does it also means that Cham people who forfeited their religion were not considered enemy? And if they continued to practice Islamic religion, they would be considered enemies? Is that correct? Answer, no, that is not the case. I think that whether you were Cham or not, you will be subject to be killed. However, there were Cham who practice Islamic religion. If you speak about religion, other religious followers, including Buddhism, were also killed. Question. This morning you also stated that you lost a younger sibling. What was the cause of death? Answer. After we were evacuated to various communes within Jamkale district, my younger sibling was evacuated to an area within Jeju commune, that is in Trapeng Rusai village. And most of people from that village were sent and killed, including my sibling. He did not make any mistake, but he was among those who were sent and killed. Question. Does this mean that he actually requested to go with the rest of the people? Answer. No, that is not the case. Actually, his name was the one who was supposed to go along with the group. Question. After 1979, in your village, that is out of the 53 families, how many families remained? President, witness, please observe the microphone. Witness. This morning I stated that between 20 to 25 people returned to live in the village, and I did not refer to among the 50 families or souls. I refer to the entire people who used to live there, and about only 20% of them returned to live in the village. Question. Now I'd like to refer to a Spur village. How many Cham families survived in that village? Answer. One day, in about 10 years ago, I met with an elderly man who lived in that village. And I told him that the historical background should be compiled for the younger generation, that head counts of Cham people living in various areas should be compiled, and that those elder people might even know about the number of Cham population lived in the area before 1975, and also they should do the head count of the survivors and the younger generation. And the elderly people counted 1,250 families, and there were only 144 families from that village. Question. In your statement before OCIJ, that is E3/5216, at Khmer EN 00223894, French 00234571, and English 00225498. You stated that amongst the 53 families, 14 families of the Cham people were killed. Can you react to that statement? And that is about right, that I refer to the 50 also of the Cham families from that village, and that excluded other Cham people from other villages. Question. Can you tell the court whether those 14 Cham families were taken and killed at the same time, or only a family was taken at a time? And I can recall that some Cham people from the village were taken, while others were taken from a plantation. So Cham people from the village, some of them were sent to the plantation together with those at the plantation, and they were taken away. Question. Did they disappear at the same time? Answer. They disappeared at a different timeline, and that happened in 1977 and early 1978. Question. In the interest of time, I have one last question to put to you. Since you are the president of the council, or the higher council for the Cham people, for the Islamic religion, besides the Cham people living in Kampong Cham province and in Krochma district, can you tell the chamber whether the rate of the disappearance of Cham people elsewhere is similar or higher than that of the Chamkale district? Answer. From the query I made regarding the disappearance when I was in my religious leadership role, it happened in PMG Kong, that is in the lower part, and that happened more than those at the upper part, and a similar rate occurred for Chamkale. People who lived along the river banks usually lived on the land, not in the river. In some villages, people completely disappeared, while others there were only a few families remained. Question: does it mean that in other areas besides those villages along the riverbank, the disappearance rate was less than those who lived along the riverbank? Answer: yes, that is correct. Also, the rate of disappearance was less than 50% along the border, while the disappearance rate along the riverbank was higher than 50%. Council, thank you, Oknya, and thank you, Mr. President. President, thank you, and I'd like to hand the floor to the defense team for Kyiv Sampon to put the questions to this witness. You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon to all of you. Good afternoon, witness. My name is Anta Guissé, and I'm the co-international counsel for Kyiv Sampon, and it is in this capacity that I'm going to put to you a few extra questions. The first point, to make sure that I understood your testimony properly, I understood that when the Khmer Rouge arrived in your village, you continued working as a teacher. And at one point in time, however, you went to Cheyo village. So did I understand your testimony properly?
Yes, that is correct.
I also understood this morning that you made a request to leave your village in Spo. So to whom did you make this request?
At that time, there was also a youth director in commune, and that director also was from Cheyo village.
J'ai l'impression.
I have the impression that I missed some of your answers, so let me put the question to you again. So to whom did you make the request to leave Spo village?
As I stated, in the commune there was a commune director who was the head of teaching, and I requested the permission from that director to move to another village within the same commune.
Do you remember the name of this commune director? And had he been there for a long time when you made that request?
I cannot recall the name of the director, as it happened many years ago.
Et est-ce que ça...
And had he been in that function for a long time, or did you know him for a long time, or did he come from elsewhere?
As I stated, nobody was in a position for a fixed period of time. Usually they will be replaced by somebody else. For that reason, I cannot recall the exact duration of his position.
But we agree that it is you who made that request, correct?
Please repeat your question.
C'est bien vous.
So you are the one who requested to be assigned somewhere else, correct?
Interpreter does not hear his response.
Excusez-moi.
I apologize, but the interpreters did not hear your answer, so could you please repeat your answer?
Yes, that is correct. I was the one who made the request.
Et est-ce que c'est
And were you the one who asked to be appointed to Chuyo, or was it the director who chose that assignment for you?
I stated repeatedly because I was fearful of death. I was the one who made that request.
ma question?
My question was, are you the one who chose Chayo, or is it the commune director who chose that assignment for you?
I made my request to go there.
Et à quelle distance?
And how far was Chayo from Spo?
From the location I lived to that area, it was about 4 to 5 kilometers.
I'm putting these questions of clarification to you, witness, because we have the copy here of an interview that you gave to Isa Osman, document D175/3.43. And this is what is written in this document regarding your departure from Spur. So first of all, do we agree that during the entire decay period, either you lived in Spur or you lived in Chayo? Aside from your job measuring lands, you didn't live anywhere else. Is that correct?
I have stated that I was stopped doing their work in 1978, and I was reassigned to measure land in late 1978. So please make it clear that I stopped teaching in 1978, and later on I was assigned to a measure land, so I did not live in two places at the same time.
Lorsque vous
When you were in charge of conducting topographic surveys, you had already left Chayo and you had already gone back to your village in Spur. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
donc j'en reviens
So now I would like to revisit your statements as they appear in your interview with Isa Osman. So D175/3.43 on page 4 in English, and Khmer ERN is 00230603, and this is what is written, and I have to quote in English. So
I was expelled from Speu village and sent to live in another village where Khmer lived, and I taught only Khmer children. They did not let me teach Cham children. The village was about 3 kilometers from my home village. Fin de citation.
end of quote. So my question is the following. Did you yourself request to leave Spur, or were you expelled? And is Chayo village 45 kilometers from Spur, or 3 kilometers away. So can you please tell us what the true picture is?
Both statements are correct. If you take a shortcut, it's about 3 kilometers. If you take the route, it's about 4 to 5 kilometers.
4 ou 5 kilomètres.
44 to 5, but I heard 4 to 5, but I heard 45. So therefore, following question: were you expelled from Spur, or you decided to leave, to be assigned elsewhere?
I repeatedly made the statement that I was the one who made the request, because I was afraid that if I lived in Spur, I would be dead. So I requested to go to a Khmer village in order to refashion myself so that I could be alive.
So what I just read out to you, that is to say, the segment of the interview you had with Isa Osman, which are the elements we have here, well, this is wrong. It's not correct. You were not expelled from Spur.
That is correct, because I might use an ordinary spoken word. Of course, it refers to the same situation. I made a request, and when it's approved, it means I was expelled from the village.
Alors là, on a vraiment...
Well, there's a real problem here of terminology, because expelled is something against your will. When you asked to be relocated, that is not being expelled. But okay, but I will base myself on your explanation, and I will keep on going. Now I would like to get back to the moment when you changed names, or in any case, when you shortened your name. So when did this happen? I didn't quite understand. Could you please be specific about that?
I stated this morning the names that the parents gave to their children are in full, and the same applies to Khmer people. However, usually those children would be known by aliases, and later on when they grow up, usually for their identity cards, they would use the names that they are known by their peers, that is their aliases.
Well, this doesn't quite answer my question, which was, when did you start using your shortened name, the name Sokamre?
While I was a student, my father made a birth certificate that my name was Mat Marie, not Sokamri. However, after I started teaching, I changed my name to Sof Kamri. Sof refers to my father. So that happened since after I started teaching, and villagers referred to me by that name. Deputy Co-Prosecutor, Mr. President, I'd like to make an observation. The EN in the Khmer language is 00230603, that is the 175/3.43. The Khmer language does not include the word expelled, but in English at 01222004, the word expelled was used in the I was expelled from Spur. But in the Khmer language, it reads that he was evacuated from a Spur village. This is my observation only.
Well, my question therefore remains the same, witness. If I understood your last answer well, it is when you began teaching that you started using the name Sokkamre. Am I correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Et ça, c'est
And I understood that you started teaching before 1975. So was this before the arrival of the Khmer Rouge?
I started teaching in 1973.
Well, I'm putting this question to you because in document E3/5216 at French ERN 0002345669, English 00225496, and Khmer 00223892, you explain the following regarding arrests that occurred, and you explain this is why you left Spur, and you said that terrified by the fact of these arrests, I fled to Chayo village where I changed names and changed my name to Sokkamre and disguised my Muslim identity. So, at free translation, so in your statements before the investigating judges, we see that you started using this name as of the moment when you were in Chayo village. So is this an error or not?
Initially, when I was told to tell the truth, I do not know whether the person who took my statement made a mistake or not. Maybe it's confused when I relocated myself, but I myself do not make a mistake. While I was living in the Acham village, of course, I was scared because I saw people being taken away and killed. And for that reason, I needed to find somewhere else to live.
donc, si je comprends bien, vous maintenez.
So if I understand you correctly, you stand by the fact that you did not change your name when you went to Cheyo, but you had shortened your name well before that. Is that what I should take from your testimony?
Yes, I have stated that in fact, you cannot say I changed my name, but I actually use that alias since I started teaching.
Autre point de précision, vous
Another point that needs clarification is the following. You stated that when you went to Cheyo, you left alone and your wife and children had remained behind at Spill. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
et lorsque vous êtes revenu.
And when you returned to Spill, if I understood you correctly, please correct me if I'm wrong, that was in late 1977, early 1978. You came to stay with your family, is that correct?
I returned in early 1978.
Et vous êtes revenu habiter.
And you came back to stay with your wife, is that correct?
That is correct. I came to live together with my wife and daughters.
Et nous sommes d'accord qu'à ce moment-là,
And you would agree with me that during that period at Spur, where you lived, everyone was aware of the fact that you were Cham. Is that correct?
បាទ
Yes, the villagers knew that I was Cham.
Et en dehors de votre famille,
And apart from your family, that is, apart from your wife and children and yourself, there were other families in Spo, that is, Cham families at Spo, and they still live there. Is that correct?
បាទត្រឹមត្រូវ
Correct.
je voudrais revenir maintenant à la réunion à la
I would like us to talk about the meeting which you said you attended, that is in Bokno. Can you please clarify one point? When you attended that meeting at Bokno, was that the period during which you were transferred to Cheyo?
នៅក្នុង
Perhaps it was in 1977.
donc à une période où vous étiez
So that was the time when you were at Cheyo, right?
ក្នុងនេះគឺ
On this particular issue, I was assigned to go and collect the cow at Taong for a period of 2, 3 or 4 months, since I was already there.
excusez-moi, j'ai
Pardon me, I didn't quite grasp the place where you were transferred. I'm not sure I heard the correct pronunciation. Where was it exactly that you stayed during that period?
Bok Now and Taong were the villages adjacent to one another. Taong at the time per 120 hectares used to grow cotton plants, and at that time there were worms. So I was assigned to go and get the children to collect the worms out of the cotton plants.
et donc en réponse à ma
So in answer to my question, do you mean that at the time when you attended the meeting at Bokno, you had already been assigned to work at the adjacent village during that period? Do I understand you correctly?
Correct.
et donc vous situez pardon et donc vous situez
Which means that that period was in 1977, is that correct?
អឺ
There were many meetings, and that meeting perhaps was held in late 1977.
dans l'ouvrage
In Isa Osman's book, The Cham Rebellion, an extract of which was read out to you early this morning by the co-prosecutor, and his document E3/7690, and the ERN in French is 004853882. ERN in English is 00223899, and the ERN in Khmer is 00223896. In the paragraph corresponding to the statements you made, according to Isa Osman, you state that that meeting was held in a day in 1977. And this is what is stated in this famous document you have referred to. Again, in answer to questions put to you by my colleague of the Nunchia team, this is what is stated therein. The next day, that is the day after the meeting, if I understand correctly, the next day, Camry said that he read an official document that had been circulated by the Khmer Rouge under the title, The Plan for Progressive Cooperatives, end of quote. To the extent that, in answer to a question put to you by the Nunchia Council, you stated that you thought that you had seen that document in October 1978. In Isa Osman's book, we see that it was the next day, sometime in 1977. Can you please tell us which is the correct version?
ការប្រជុំឲ្យចែក
Regarding the meeting where a document was circulated to me, actually there was no such a meeting. And as for the document you mentioned, that was a different time when I was assigned to go and measure the land, and during which I was provided with that document to read to pass the time. So it was 1 year apart.
Donc nous sommes d'accord qu'il y a une...
So you would agree with me that there is an error in Isa Osman's book in which he says that you read that document in 1977, or that you saw that document in 1977.
សភៅហ្នឹងប្រហែល
He may have he may wanted to say that it was referring to the meeting that I attended, but the book or the document I saw and read to pass the time was in 1978. That is my recollection. I attended that meeting while I was a teacher, and the book that I saw was at a point in time where I stopped being a teacher. So it may have been in September or October of 1978 when I saw that book, the time when I was assigned to go and measure the land.
Donc la réponse courte à ma question.
So your short answer to my question is that yes, there's an error in the passage from Isa Osman's book that I've read out to you. Yes, indeed, there's an error, isn't it?
ការងារ
You're right. He mentioned the same year, 1977, but in fact, one event happened in late 1977, and another event took place in late 1978. So it was not in the same year.
Et si j'ai bien compris votre...
And if I properly understood your testimony this morning, I believe it was very clear in all the languages. When you attended the meeting in 1977, what you heard were general statements, general declarations on the enemy in general terms. Did I properly understand your testimony?
You're right. They mention about the different types of enemy, including the reactionary and Jam people, and those who were Islamic or Jam follower. So they were mentioning about different types of enemies.
Je voudrais maintenant...
I would like us to talk specifically about the time you said you saw that document in the office of the commune chief. Can you confirm that it was indeed in the Renew commune office that a messenger gave you a batch of documents which included that document on cooperatives.
C'est bien au bureau communal.
Was it indeed in the Renew commune office that that document was given to you?
It was in the commune office of Nhung commune, Ultimate Village. Nowadays it is in Spư commune.
Et est-ce que vous vous souvenez comment s'appelait?
And do you know the name of the commune chief at the time?
I do not remember the name. That was the only time that I met him and the time that I saw him. I do not know his name.
Et ce jour-là,
And were you indeed accompanied by colleagues on that day?
Answer. My 3 colleagues, but I do not know where they are. Nowadays, one of my colleagues is already deceased, and Croat, I am referring to Croat, my colleague at the time. He is now deceased.
et est-ce que vous savez, est-ce que vous vous souvenez si eux aussi
And do you know or remember whether they themselves saw the document you said you saw on that day? Did they also see it?
ban
They may not have seen that document. We were in different location. Actually, that location was not completely a house. It is small hut, and they were outside. So perhaps I guess they may not have seen that document.
et vous êtes la seule personne
And were you the only person who went into the office, since you say that the others were outside?
We went into the office all together, and later on I do not remember who was in with me and who was out.
J'ai compris que c'est vous
I understood that you are the person who asked for that document to be read out to you by the messenger. When you arrived, was it only the messenger you saw at the commune office?
When I asked for the documents, we were all together in that office, and I did not notice at the time whether some of my colleagues went out and some other took other document to read to pass the time, and it was a very short time that we read the book.
quand je vous demandais si
When I asked you whether the messenger was alone, you said there were no other persons working in the commune office present apart from the messenger. Isn't that correct?
អត់មានទេ
In the office, there was a messenger, the only messenger, and after he handed over those parts of books to me and to others, he went out to find oranges for us to eat. And a while later, that guy, the messenger, the young messenger, came back with oranges.
Donc il vous a laissé seul.
So he left you alone in his boss's office when he went to look for oranges. Is that correct?
I was with my other colleagues, but I cannot recall well whether my other colleagues were on chairs, were sitting on the chairs, or whether they were outside of the office. I cannot recall it well.
Répondant tout à l'heure,
A while ago, in answer to a question put to you by Counsel for Nonchia, you stated that you were able to talk about that document to close friends of yours in passing, if I understood you correctly. When did you talk to your friends about that document, which stated that the charm had to be eliminated before 1980? At what time did you talk about that document to other persons? And if you do know who they were, could you please give us their names?
I do not recall, and I do not recall it well in my mind. Actually, I had a different conversation and dialogues with friends that happened more than 30 years ago, and as for names, I cannot recall as well since it happened a long time ago, more than 30 years.
mais vous en avez parlé.
But you did talk about it when you returned to Spill? That is a few days after late 1978, and you said it was in October 1978. Was it a few days after you saw the document you've referred to, or was at another time?
I did not dare to mention anything. Several years later, I had the chit-chats or dialogues with my students. I do not remember who I was talking to at the time.
Donc, je comprends de votre...
So if I understand your testimony correctly, you are saying that you saw a document on which it was stated that the charm had to be exterminated, and when you returned to Spill to be with your family, that was a place where there were other charm. You did not warn them about what you had seen in that document, what you had read in that document?
I told you already, several years later, after the liberation, I lived in Spur village for 20 days, and then I moved to a location near the border. 20 years later, I came back. So I cannot tell you where exactly I had discussed this issue. Perhaps I may have discussed this issue at Craig and in other locations, which I cannot recall them all.
Monsieur le Président,
Mr. President, I'll give the floor to my colleague Kong Samon to continue examining the witness.
Kong Samon. Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. President, Your Honors. Good afternoon, Mr. Witness. I have very short question and perhaps several short questions. Since you used to live in Chamkala district, how many Cham villages were there in Chamkala district? Answer. Right now, there are 2 villages, and since the time there were also 2 villages. One was Pu, and to the south there was a Jam village, and there was also Jeyo. Jeyo was a bigger village compared to the other village. In fact, there are other villages near Steng Trong. There is a village, and close to the stream there is Opek or Old Tribe village. And for me, I usually refer to that Opek as Old Tribe as Opek. And currently there are 100 Cham families in Opek. But in Khmer Rouge time, there were only 50 Cham families in Opek. Lawyer, thank you. In document D175/3/43, you also stated in the morning in Khmer 00 13 46 12, English 00 22 20 09, French 00 22 06 21. You stated that there were around 220 Cham villages in the entire Cambodia or Cambodia. Could you tell the court the source of that information? Answer. After the liberation of 1979, I went around almost in the entire Cambodia. 60% of my visits was to be a speaker in the sessions, and I observed and counted the small and big villages, and after that I came to a conclusion that there are around 250 Cham villages, not less than that. I moved and lived in different places. I used to live in Spư, Tropang Chuk Commune, Kampong Thom Province, and I used to live in Kampong Chnang as well, and also in Badambong. So I lived in different locations, and I have had many friends. My uncle was also a religious leader, so he also has many friends. I went around in the country, and I have the intention in mind to compile the document about Cham villages. So overall, I can say there are more than 250 Cham villages. In 1993, when the Ministry of Religion selected religious leaders, the ministry invited Hakim and religious leaders in villages to vote. And religious leaders from 210 villages, Cham villages, came to attend that vote, and other 30 or 40 Cham villages leader did not come to attend the voting. So I could say that there are more than 250 Cham villages in the entire country. Lawyer, thank you. You stated that in some Cham villages there were around 1,000 or 2,000 Cham families living in those villages. I want you to tell the court which Cham village consisted of small number of Cham people. And I'm asking you about the period before 1975 and also about the current time. Answer: before 1975, there were no Cham villages in Kok Kong, Dom Bai. There were no villages, Cham villages in Dom Bai, of Kampong Cham. In Krachet, there were not so many Cham villages, particularly in Kampot province. After the liberation, because so many of Cham people were farmers, they forfeited the occupation of fishermen. They went to different places to clear the forest and then do the farming. So Cham villages increased from that time onward. And for the province, which has a large number of Cham people, before it was Kampong Cham. And before there were 30 Cham villages in Bong Khmum, but now there are around 100 villages, Cham villages in Kampong Cham, namely Pong Ro and another village close to Karachi. There were around, right now I can say that there are around 2,000 families of Cham people in some villages. So when we add up the number of Cham people together, we can see that there are many Cham people living in the country. And I want to tell you that there are around 530 Cham villages in the country, and most of Cham people are now living in Kampong Cham and also in Kampong Chnang, the second largest province, where the second largest community of Cham people. Lawyer. So I want you to tell the court about the population of Cham people. And you stated that before 1975 there were around 220 Cham villages. So can you specify how many Cham people living in one village? Answer. If we mention about the population of Cham people, in one village there may have had 705 to 750 Cham families. But there were other villages where many Cham families resided in those villages. Lawyer, thank you. You told the court at the beginning that in Chamkale there were 2 Cham villages, and one village consisted of 50 Cham families. And I want you to tell the average of Cham population. So before 1975, how many Cham families in one village on average before 1975? And did you study the number of Cham families in each village before 1975? I hope you can recall my question. Actually, we did not have the clear statistics at the time, and I did not work on the statistics at the time before 1975. It was only my observation about Cham population and families. Lawyer, thank you. My last question to put to you, Mr. Witness. before 1975, how many villages were there in the country, in Cambodia, including the Khmer villages as well? Answer, I do not know, I'm sorry. In Chamkale and Spu and also Jeyo, I did not know also how many villages were there. Lawyer, thank you. And currently, do you know how many villages and communes within Cambodia? Answer, I do not know, but I know the villages where Cham people are living. Lawyer, thank you, Mr. Witness. Mr. President, I am done with my questioning. President, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sok Kamri. The hearing of your testimony as a witness has come to an end now. Your testimony will therefore contribute to the truth. You may return to anywhere you wish to go. I wish you good luck, good health, and prosperity. Court officer, please work with the vessel to send Mr. Sok Kamri back to his residence or to any places he wishes to go. It is now time for the adjournment. The hearing will resume tomorrow on Thursday, 7 April 2016 at 9 a.m. Tomorrow, the chamber will start to hear 2 TCW 1011 in relation to Phnom Kran Security Center via video link. Please be informed and please be on time. Security personnel are instructed to bring the 2 accused, Nuon Chait Kyusampon, back to the ECCC's detention facility and have them returned into the courtroom tomorrow before 9 a.m. The court is now adjourned.